Thank you, Dr. Tim. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Thanks. You too. Have a wonderful show.
Thank you. So welcome, everybody, to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Thursday, April the 27th, 2023. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581. And press 1. And that puts you in the queue to talk, and we'd love to hear your comments and questions because that makes this your show. And I'll invite you to go to the website, whyagain.org. And I made a couple changes. We had a section on the Beatitudes. There's actually a page that's called Beatitudes Pages. So if you put whyagain.org/Beatitudes, it will take you there, and that's where we did 4 radio shows in December of 2021 with Mark Caddis and Michael talking about the Beatitudes. And then there was another show June the 13th of 22 and June the 14th of 22 that talked about the Beatitudes. And I originally had those on Vimeo, and I've changed it over to being on the YouTube channel. So you can access those directly on our website, or you can go to the YouTube channel and access them there. I invite you to go to YouTube, and there's actually a little link if you're on whyagain.org. Up in the upper right corner, there's the little Facebook emblem, Vimeo, and then Tube emblem, and then there's also iHeartRadio. But if you click on the YouTube channel, it'll take you directly to Michael Ryce _whyagain, and you can click on videos, and there are all kinds of videos out there for you to listen to. And we have a total of 116 videos, actually. And we've got well over 1,000 subscribers now. Thank you all. We appreciate the support. And invite you to, okay, hold on a minute. I'm on the radio. Thank you. And Aria's just creating a book. So she's learning how, we went to the book fair yesterday. That's why we weren't on the show. We took a play day, and Michael and I went with her to the book fair at her school. And she picked out several books that she can learn to read, and she's doing really good using phonics and sounding out the letters and coming up with words. So today she said, can we have another play day? And I said, no, not today. I said, we've got to be live on the show. So anyway, okay, you can show Papa that. Okay, well, let me finish talking first. Wait till Papa talks, and then I'll be with you, okay? So anyway, I invite you to go to either the website or to the YouTube channel and check out some of the videos. And I had someone, it was actually ended up, I believe, being kind of a fake. I always tell you all that if you find something on the website that's not working, to let me know. And so I had gotten an email from someone, and they were like, I found a link on your website, and it's not working, and where do I send the information? And I responded and said, you can send it here to this email. And then they sent back, and they gave me a link, which if I click it, it worked just fine on the website. And then they proceeded to try to sell themselves and what they would like to put on their website. I was like, okay, people need a life. So anyway, but if you do find something on the website, that can send me a note to Jeanie, Jeanie, at whyagain.org, and let me know the URL that's not working for you, and I will get it fixed. And so anyway, if you have questions or comments, you know, we have I actually am in the process of going through the Google account. They've said that they're not sure that the app complies with all of their rules, and it does. But, you know, I guess most apps, if you have to put your name and email address in, then they share that or they sell it to other people or whatever. And I guess they're just trying to make sure that that's not what we're doing. And I told them, no, we didn't sell products, we didn't have ads, and that it was totally free. And so hopefully I've answered all their questions and they will give us approval. Otherwise, they said the app will quit working in 10 days. So Michael's just on, and we do have a hand up, Michael, but I'll welcome you to the show first.
Awesome. Thank you, dear heart. Let's go ahead and see who's calling and what's on their mind.
All right. It's area code 541. You're on the air. Who do we have?
Shalinda.
Hey, young lady, welcome.
Hello. Has anybody mentioned to you that your Empowered to Heal program you put on yesterday cut out in about 15 minutes, and I never could get back on the show?
Have not heard that from anybody. No, did not know that. Maybe if someone else was on, you could let us know if you were cut off of it too. Jeannie?
Yeah, really. That's the second time
Hello,
I've had
Jeannie. I have not had anybody say anything, and I will double check it. And it says
Thank you. We'll
that
follow up.
I'm looking at the auto clips now, and Empowered to Heal.
I was kicked off.
Well, it must have been a Blog Talk thing, because it says that the recording is 58 minutes and 37 seconds. So it should have gone the entire hour.
I tried for about 10 minutes to get back on, and I couldn't even get in.
That's a Blog Talk thing. So I will definitely let them know that there was some issue on their end. I know that they're having.
Go ahead.
And if anyone else has a problem, if you drop Jeannie or I a text or an email, let us know. We'll need to follow up on that with them. Not good.
It's just concerning me, because that's the second time one of your programs has, the other one was the Aramaicisms, and I thought, this is really strange that you're getting blocked off the air during those programs, and I just wondered.
For sure.
Because the one thing I have discovered for myself, the more I get into the Aramaic gospel, the less I'm involved with my control issues, which means to me that I am possibly opening up to the fact that I am the one generating my own control. But that's counter to what the world thinks, right?
We definitely want to go counter to what the world thinks, because most of it's insane. Just look at the results we're getting. It's pretty bizarre.
That's a tricky balancing act, isn't it?
And I just FYI, I went out and looked on Blog Talk on there where they record the show afterwards, and it says that between Tim's show and our show that it was an hour and 54 minutes long. So that means it did play for the whole time. So I don't know, that must have just been something in the dial-in numbers or something that.
And maybe we need to look at the second hour and see if it actually, if the archive is actually there.
I was just going to say you can go to the archive and listen to it too.
Yeah, well, I can definitely do that, because I'm going to go to the garden this morning. Yay!
I just came in from the garden, working on the compost pile.
In fact, I'm in the greenhouse right now, because we're supposed to open the greenhouse up, and I'm trying to clean the pots out a little bit. And so, it feels wonderful.
Nice. Very cool. Well, anything else on your mind? Any questions about the Aramaic or where it was going yesterday?
No, I just was really raptly listening to that Empowered to Heal, since I bought the video that time. I wasn't able to access it on my computers, but now I know why.
All right, young lady. We appreciate you.
I'd really like to listen to the whole thing. That would be sweet. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right, blessings.
Blessings.
All right, Miss Jeannie, anybody else on the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room?
No, it is all quiet.
No? Okay. Well, let's talk about stress a little bit. I've been doing some work, actually, an exchange with a massage therapist here locally, and she had just chosen to do a personal code evaluation to look at, how is the mind functioning, where are the learning points, and it was kind of an unusual evaluation because, as I announced to her, well, the thing we need to do is get more stress for you. You don't have enough stress. And she's like, what? I have too much. Well, let's look at that. And yeah, most people carry too much stress, but most of their stress is useless. So we actually have a workshop called Getting the Stress You Need. And the offering is that without stress, you're in deep, deep trouble, because stress is what causes behavior. And the caution point is that you make sure that your stress is useful for what your purpose is and what's going on in your world at the moment. And to become a conscious creator of stress is so important. Having done many, many workshops over the years on goals and stress, I find it interesting that I have never been able to find anywhere except in the Aramaic the understanding of how stress is created. And that you need stress. Without it, you're in trouble. And, you know, I've talked to people, I've done workshops where you go to a goal-setting workshop and you come out of that workshop with your daily goals, your weekly goals, your monthly goals, your semi-annual goals, your annual goal, your 5-year goal, your 10-year goal, your 20-year goal, your lifetime goal. And people walk out of the workshop so loaded down with stress that, oh yes, they're driven to get things done, but they've destroyed the space for joy to show up. And when you recognize that the way stress is created, you know, people talk about, oh, that was a very stressful situation. No, it's not. There's no such thing as a stressful situation. You know, we have two people in the same situation. One's going nuts because it's so stressful, and the other's staying there humming away going, so what? Why is one person in stress and the other one isn't if it's a stressful situation? No, the way that stress is created is by putting a goal into the mind, which is a wonderful mechanism to understand. When you set a goal, you said to the mind, I have a job for you to do. I want you to resolve this stress. In other words, give me the best information you've got to complete this goal. And once a goal is set in the mind, there are only two ways to get rid of it. You either accomplish the goal or you cancel the goal. If you don't do one of those two things, then the stress goes on and on and on and on. Literally for a lifetime. People go to bed at night and say, why won't my mind shut off? Because you've loaded it with so much stress. You've told it you have a job for it to do. And if you're laying in bed and going gloom, 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 thought after thought after thought after thought, your mind is just doing the job you gave it. What if you went to bed stress-free except for the goal to have deep, restful, regenerative sleep? And have feedback on your framed goals for the next day. We have a sheet called the Mind Goal Management Sheet, and it's about how to produce that result. And the last thing you do before you go to bed at night is you cancel every goal from every time in your life that a goal was not either accomplished or canceled. And that way you only have stresses that are useful. You know, you wouldn't know it by the way the Greeks translate the phrase, but if you go back 2,000 years ago, you hear this man Yeshua supposedly saying, at least the words the Greeks put in his mouth, which are totally, completely in error, but we hear him supposedly saying, sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. And you say to yourself, well, why would I want to have evil? And what do you mean sufficient for the day? Where do you go? Where are you going with that? If you go to the Aramaic language, You don't find him saying anything about being sufficient for the day or the evils thereof. What you find is he's giving you instructions on how to set your goals and in what time frame to set your goals, how to manage your mind. So the word evil in Aramaic has at least two different translations. One of them relates to the word sin. You'll recall we've told you that the word sin in Aramaic is an archery term, which means off the mark. If you put an energy that's off the mark into your tissue structure, then your tissue is going to start to decay, and that will be a disease process, and ultimately enough disease processes and people die. So when they said the wages of sin is death, that wasn't some kind of theological threat. God's going to get you for your sins. It's saying if you put enough disintegrative energy that's off the mark, into your tissue structure, then your organs are going to start to break down and fail. Sufficient for the day are the evils thereof is a pointer to the second meaning or translation of the word evil. And that is that evil means unripened or incomplete. So if I have a green banana, I have a banana that in Aramaic I would properly call evil. If I have an over-ripened, brown, mushy, falling apart, the fruit flies are flying around it, that banana is evil. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just not ripe. Now, if I have this nice yellow with some brown specks on it banana, that banana would be ripe. The word evil would not be used to describe it, but on either side of ripe, you've got evil. So when you understand that meaning, then you hear these words, sufficient for the day are the evils thereof. He's saying, only create stresses around your next waking period, or you will overload your mind, sufficient for the day. In other words, don't carry any more goals than for your next waking period. If you've got something to achieve next week, you don't want to set it as a goal in your mind. Or guess what? You'll go to bed tonight and your mind will be going, oh yeah, next week we have to do this. No, let me see, we could do this. We could do. Here are all the options. And the mind runs and runs. And people say, I don't know why my mind won't stop. Well, cancel the goal. Remove it. It's interesting that when you look at the forgiveness process in Aramaic, the core of the forgiveness process is the canceling of a goal and therefore the reducing of stress. Because when you cancel a goal, whatever the mind is trying to achieve there collapses. So you only frame and set goals for the day in front of you. Not for tomorrow. He says, don't be concerned about tomorrow or next week or next month or next year or 10 years. Well, gee, Michael, how am I going to go what direction my life is going to go? Well, you've got a planner. You're going to plan the next 10, 20, 50, 100, 200, 500 years. Please plan it. But don't frame or set goals. Actually, let's put that in two places. Don't frame goals until the night before, and don't set them until the morning of the day that you're going to achieve that goal, that you're going to work on completing that goal. And if nighttime comes and you haven't had the opportunity to complete it, then remove it from your mind, or your mind will be rolling, trying to figure out a way to get that goal accomplished. Now, you recall we've offered the Harvard research that says that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells are firing, they can measure approximately 10,000 units of electrical activity in the brain. That in that time frame, the maximum amount of data that goes into conscious awareness is 9 bits. A little tiny piece of information compared to all that's going on in the mind. So if there's all that information firing in the mind, where does the goal come in? The goals you tell your mind to achieve become the drivers that cause your mind to output whatever its guidance is for you. Literally, it drives perception. And if perception is pained, that is based in some form of hostility or fear, then you better collapse that perception and look at what's going underneath the surface and change it. How do you collapse perception? You cancel the goal that's driving it. And when that thing collapses, it collapses in on itself. A good visual of that, not a happy event, but you might remember, pretty much everybody saw, maybe too many times, the 9/11 towers come down. You'll remember those huge towers collapsed at free fall speed into their own footprint. Now, mechanically, that's an absolute impossibility, but that's another topic. We're not going to get into that. But think about how those towers fell into their own footprint and recognize that a perceptual construct in your mind is like that tower, and if you know how to collapse it, it's going to collapse into its own footprint, and when it does, pardon me, you've got access to the underlying dynamic of the mind, the unconscious part of the mind, where that perceptual construct is rooted. You might remember the lesson in the Course in Miracles. It says, you may wonder why you must look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. And then it goes on to say, because these things don't stand on their own. And so when you know how to collapse your perceptual constructs, and they collapse into themselves, you've now got access to the unconscious part of your own mind. And with that kind of access, you get to clean it up. That's the power of forgiveness. And it all relates to stress. So stress is a wonderful friend, an awesome thing to have, because it is behind all behavior. You know, if you're sitting on a tack and you had no stress, there would be no goal to get up off the tack, and sooner or later there'd be an infection and you'd be in trouble. If you didn't have the stress of thirst and set a goal to quench that thirst to get some water, then you'd dehydrate. So goals are wondrous things, but only frame and set them in the immediate time frame in which you're going to achieve those goals, and everything else, rather than making it a goal, put it in your planner. You know, I want to build a house. I don't have a goal to build a house. I have a plan to build a house. Today, I can talk to the architect and get the blueprint started. So I'd have a goal to contact the architect, explain what we're going to do, and get the blueprint started. But I wouldn't set a goal to go out and buy the nails with which to put the boards together. I wouldn't go out and order the concrete. I wouldn't order the roofing materials. I wouldn't order the insulation. Those things will all come in their own time, in order. And sadly, because that piece of teaching was removed from the teachings of Yeshua, most people are overstressed most of the time, and most of the stress they're experiencing is not productive. It's useless. Because if I've got a plan for something 6 months from now, and I set a goal to accomplish it, there's nothing I can do about accomplishing that until 6 months from now. So I don't need that stress, laying around in my mind for 6 months, causing my mind to churn and churn and churn and stir up thoughts that are useless because I can't act on them today. So sufficient for the day are the evils thereof is just frame and set your goals just for the next waking period, and the next day do it again, and the next day do it again, and you will have the kind of stresses that you need, that are useful to you, that will keep your body in a settled, quiet state, rather than, oh, I've got the next year on my shoulders. I've only got the next 8 waking hours. If you're interested in getting more information about that, you can go to the website, and the name of the worksheet for that Getting the Stress You Need video is the mind goal management sheet. So you might look up that mind goal management sheet. It explains the whole process of stress, and then there's a step-by-step. Here's how you frame goals, not set them, but frame them so that you can get feedback on them. And then in the appropriate time frame, set in place the stresses that you need to produce the result and carry on stress-free. So I hope that's a useful chunk of information for you. And if it arouses any questions or needs any clarification, our call-in number, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you in our control panel, is 563-999-3581, 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you'll be listening to the show. And then if you have a question, all you do is push 1. That will raise a hand in the control panel. Jeannie will know you want to speak to us, and she'll introduce you by your area code. So if you're out there in listener land, what's on your mind? How can we support you? Push 1. Let's have a conversation about it. Awesome. Let's say hello.
It's Cecilia, area code 480. You're on the air. Can you hear me okay?
You're loud and clear, young lady. How are you?
Oh, good. I'm good. And interestingly, I'm doing this intensive, and it's good because there's not been a lot of time since I've had all your work and all that kind of stuff that I ever wanted to do anything. So I got out getting the stress you need last night, or actually while I was painting yesterday. But it's hard to concentrate when I'm doing two things. So I watched it again this morning. What I got out of it this morning was, even though I've seen it on the video, how you take that circle and put a triangle for a nose on it, and then you dissect the parts of the brain as being, the frontal lobes as being intention, and the back of the brain being, you can say it.
Perception.
Yeah. Is that when you put the filters in there, in the intention, and in the perception, and how fear is a demon that needs to be cast out, and that we're here to create heaven on earth, even though you didn't say that in that video, and that it's just all my mind's just finally going, wow. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm getting brain cells for this finally.
Awesome.
So it's interesting, though, when there's the worksheet, I would love that on the worksheet, but I'll have a sketch of it for myself for the worksheet to remind myself that fear is a demon to be cast out, and fear and hostility.
Right.
Keep my mind set. Can you give more examples on how to keep Rachma set and Kuba set in the mind, more tools to make it more specific for those like me? Or is that specific?
Well, you've got a starting point, and the whole understanding of that filter system, as you notice, takes time to build the brain cells, and then literally every other tool correlates. Like, for instance, if hostility comes up, then Rachma, love over intentions, Kuba, love over perceptions, tends to collapse. So what am I going to do? Well, that's the point where I'm going to say, there's something I need to forgive here. So then I'm going to pull out the forgiveness worksheet and work through that. And wow, I'm feeling so overstressed that, I feel nothing but stress and strain. And, so now what do I want to do? I want to look at, what are my goals? What do I need to clean up? I need to start to manage my mind. And especially, probably one of the most important things, and we've got a culture that set goals, and people don't realize how much stress they're creating. And the major feature, or the major tool that they need to use, is the canceling of goals. Cancel every goal that drives my mind to distraction about something that, gee, I need to do 3 weeks from now, get rid of that goal so my mind quiets down there. And when my mind quiets down, I have more of my resources back. So every tool that we're talking about ties into the mind goal management sheet. It all fits. So it's like if you look at each of the workshops and each of the worksheets, they're downs of pieces of a puzzle. You know, the whole body of work that we're doing here started out with one worksheet, and that was forgiveness, and the Why Is This Happening to Me Again workshop. That was like the starting point. And out of that, these other workshops came through. It's like, well, now that we know that forgiveness is the key, what am I going to do about my stresses? What am I going to do about relationships? What am I going to do about communication? You know, what am I going to do about my purpose? And each of those becomes another tool, another piece in the whole puzzle of bringing this mind into alignment with truth and making of it a willing cooperative servant that carries my life forward rather than a misprogrammed device that I need to struggle with. So if you start thinking in terms of applying every tool that you've learned over the years with this work, then you'll see that they're all part of one big puzzle. Does that fit? Does that make sense of where your question's going?
Yes. Yes, they all tie in together. They're not separate entities without connection. Yeah.
Exactly. And, you know, I might, in order, like you'll notice in the mind goal management sheet, one down at the bottom where the checkoff is this in alignment with my primary and secondary purpose? Well, gee, I need to start looking at what my purpose is. I need to be conscious of my purpose. I mean, there might be, the way I relate to it is that when you're unconscious about how goals affect the mind, the tendency for most people is to do all kinds of things that really have nothing to do with their lives, and they really waste a lot of information, or pardon me, a lot of energy. And so once you get a picture of what your purpose is, there are things that maybe you like to or enjoy doing, but they bear no resemblance or no relationship, I should say, with your life purpose, so you throw them away and you don't do them anymore. And the opposite is there are things that maybe you don't even like to do or you don't want to do, but you realize that they're required for you to fulfill your purpose, so you do them anyway. That was a big shift and a big switch for me. And so certain things you throw away that are distractions, even though you might enjoy them, and other things that you've thrown away, say, well, this is part of what I have to do to fulfill my purpose, so I'm going to do this. And so it's good to have a picture of what your primary and secondary purposes are. Primary being the universal experience. If you look at that workshop, Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, my offering is the purpose of every human being on the planet is to strengthen their awareness of themselves as love and develop that spiritual body so that it is viable and functional in all circumstances. So realizing who we are as love and cultivating our relationship with ourselves as love is a big part of the purpose. And that's primary. That's the same for every person on the planet. And then we each have our unique purposes, which is what we refer to as the secondary purpose. And in that purpose, personal power, and commitment, we go through both of those. And the secondary is, what's the unique way that I'm here to achieve what we're all here to achieve? So, you know, the person who enjoys writing, their secondary purpose is to write. And somebody else might like, you know, I can't even stand sitting in front of the computer. I want to get out there and, you know, get in the garden. So recognizing what your secondary purpose is and then bringing them into alignment with your goals, like that's why that workshop, Purpose, Personal Power, and Commitment, is titled the way it is, that when I'm in alignment with my purpose, that's the key to having personal power. Where some people are, you know, their energy's off over here and over there and over there, flitting around all over the place, and no focal point to focalize and center their power. Once you get clear on your primary and secondary purpose, then zing, there's a whole different clarity and a whole different level of ability to achieve what your purpose is. So each of those things, again, is part of the whole.
Yes, and you can work on this stuff forever, which is great. I mean,
it is definitely a lifetime of work.
Yes, it is. Can I ask you about this book? Have you ever heard of it? It's for people who have, I would call it a culture has it, but there were people that were zeroed out having attention deficit disorder, and there is actually a cure for the chronic disability that has become the norm in modern life. I'm reading the top of the book. It's called The Attention Revolution, Unlocking the Power of the Focused Mind. Initial B, Alan, A-L-A-N, Wallace, W-A-L-L-A-C-E, Ph.D. I'm not sure I should read this or if this is going to take me away from, I don't know. I'm not sure. I was referred to it by and I don't know if these terms are going to sound really bizarre to some of you people, but it did to me at first, but I've known them for a long time, so I just accept it. He's the high priest. There's also a high priestess of the Nazarene Essene Church of Christ, and he recommended that to a lot of his followers.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a bookstore in a lighthouse in Oregon, and it's just the most favorite book that goes off the shelf all the time. And so I just thought I'll find it, because if he said it, you can create anything you want, but if you don't have attention and keep your focus on it, you will never create it. And
to me that sounds.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, and our purpose is to be, not do, in bliss, and be blissful and joyful and loving and happy. But if you can't
live as a human being.
Yeah, huh?
Live as a human being.
But he said you need the power of focus to do that, and this book will help a lot. He said that's the book that leaves this bookstore the most. So I don't know what your thoughts are on anything like that, because I don't, like you said, with talking about goals, and then you're doing something that isn't taking you to your goal, or doing things that, whatever the opposite of what you said was, whatever the opposite of doing things that aren't conducive, or doing things that are, I don't know, forget it. Okay. Do you have anything to say on anything I shared about that book?
Yeah, my take would be that the reason why people have what they call attention deficit disorder, I think the primary reason, is because they're in a hyper aware mode and hyper protective, because as children they were blindsided by people in their environment. And so it's difficult for someone who thinks, I might get punched upside of my head if I get really focused here and work on this project, because as a kid, every time I would be sitting and playing or doing whatever it was I was doing, and, Dad came in drunk and I got smashed in the head. So now, I'm looking every 2 minutes to make sure Dad isn't sneaking up behind me ready to smash me in the head. And sadly, that's just too common a happening in our culture. So the forgiveness of the issues behind having to be hypervigilant, I think, is urgent. And that, to me, would tie in with this thing of being able to focus. Once I'm not in, I have to defend and protect myself, so I have to keep looking 360 degrees around me to be safe. Once I realize that I'm safe and I've cleaned that part up in my mind, now I can be totally focused and produce those results. So it sounds like, I don't know what solutions he offers. Say again?
I don't either, he studied with the Dalai Lama, the author, and he's a physicist, and he's whatever theologian maybe. I'm not sure about that, but he did study and he taught it and taught meditation and all that. And I've done meditation and I've done a lot of things, and yeah, I can, if I choose to, spend half the day meditating. 2 times during the day, and I eventually can get into the habit of quieting my mind. However, I don't like to live like that. I enjoy life too, and
right.
it's not working anymore anyway. That I meditate to get to that level, and I think there's more to life than that. And then anyway, he combines all of his stuff. However, when you're talking about this, I had a voice coach in Los Angeles, and I didn't study with him for long because he didn't like my style of music. And he said, I don't know, he just, whatever. I think, whatever, I don't think anything, okay. So anyway, so he did say that I wrote something to him to tell him I was interested and that I struggled my whole life and I struggled with this. I'm not trying to emphasize struggle when I wrote it. I was not conscious that I was writing it that much. But he wrote me a letter back and he said, the work he does is called The Sound of Your Soul, and that really inspired me because no one else touches your soul with music when they teach that I know of, that I've ever gotten involved with. Anyway, and
right.
he commented back about my letter and said, I would love to help you find the sound of your voice. However, did you know that everything you write about, it's suffer. You know, you suffer, you know, you're suffering. You have suffering. And, you know, I kind of felt kind of a weird feeling like I didn't notice that. And I feel so vulnerable that I'm even seeing this is opening up for me that, you know, from what he's saying. And he did say that as a matter of fact, I was going to do a worksheet on this, something that he said to me, and I know I have it right down in my face here, but he did say, you're closed down to yourself. I don't have it directly in front of me. But I'm closed off from myself because I don't want to be vulnerable. Here it is. So he said, here it is. He said, I have to make a choice not to guard myself because he sensed that everywhere from me, and not feel. That's why I made the choice to guard myself, okay, to not feel and not be vulnerable and be closed. That's how I felt protected. But I was even doing it from myself. Okay, so that must be all the carbon-based memory in myself that I was trying to guard myself against.
Well, that sounds like what I was talking about, being hypervigilant.
Yes,
and there's where the forgiveness process comes in, to
remove
remove the goals behind hypervigilant from your mind and heal the parts that live in fear. Cast that demon out. You know, perfect love casts out fear. Get rid of fear as a resident energy in your mind.
Okay.
Then focus becomes natural. You set a goal and bingo, you're able to just totally lock in on that, and to the point where nothing else matters.
Can you elaborate on what was the first part of it? Doing the things that the goals that make me feel vulnerable, or what was it?
Yeah. So start canceling the goals that have to do with not being safe, having to protect yourself, having to look out for dangers in your environment.
Oh, I see. Yes. Yeah, I never canceled them because, no one ever got to the point to ever go, there's something you need to do is cancel those. Instead, when I was younger and in getting 4-point averages in classical music and jazz. Okay, I had a psychiatrist say you were born with attention deficit disorder and you'll die with it. And so I took the Ritalin.
Thanks a lot, pal.
Yeah, I took the Ritalin for about a week or two. I said, I can't be on this. I'm already hyper. And this stuff takes me, like, I feel like I'm on speed and I can't stand myself right now. And
sounds smart. It is speed.
And she said, if you don't do it the way I tell you to do it, I'm not gonna keep you. And I said, okay, bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Then I was,
thank you.
Yeah. And then I went to the school there. I studied classical music. And her colleague in the same office building was teaching. And I ran into him in the hallway. And he said, how are you doing with, I forgot her name or anything, but, and I said, well, I left her because she didn't want to work with me if I didn't take the Ritalin, and I felt terrible on it. I felt horrible. And he said, oh, that's her issues. And I just thought, okay, good, because, I mean, I'm not, and so, it was a short little brief walk, but I guess she has issues that she's projecting or something. I don't know what he meant by that, and it doesn't matter, but. And
virtually everyone does.
I went to a program for 4 years for jazz, and I was his best jazz student he ever had in his entire life. He was the trumpet player for the backing up Sarah Vaughan. He was in all the big bands and everything. My thing is, though, I really wasn't into big band stuff, and so I stayed with him 4 years, and he loved everything I did, and we composed music together and everything, and
cool.
I have his letters sitting in front of my piano because he knew my background for some reason without even me talking about it, and said, let's do something. Let's record your music, have the band play it, and then invite your parents. Because he knew I had got no support from them. And so
right.
and so they came, and he's so happy because he's happy with everything I did. But they weren't happy at all. Go ahead.
Question. Have you canceled your need for your parents' support yet?
No, but I'll make that a priority.
That's a big one. That'll be a big one.
Yeah, it is, isn't it, though?
That may well be your 77 times 70 worksheet issue.
Well, it is, because I think I shared with you one time that, I was so desperate for my mom's love all the time. That was seriously hypervigilant. And being around my dad and everything was just kind of icky, So I just tried to be whoever anybody wanted me to be, the chameleon and everything, and it still didn't work.
Right.
And I got into a car accident where I went through the front window, and the T-top window crashed down on my face and tore half my face off. And I called my mom at 3 a.m. because I thought she loved me then, right? I know love is not a verb. Okay, now I know that. And I think all these things subconsciously was trying to get her love. And I called her, and she said, what do you want? And I said, Mom, I'm in the hospital. I have my face tore off from an accident. You know what time it is? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Click. And, I looked like a mummy for a long time with my face wrapped up. She didn't say a word.
Are you breathing right now? Are you breathing?
No, I guess I never really dealt with the stuff. But
Yeah, so slow down a little bit. Allow yourself to just take a couple of deep breaths and be with that and what the feelings were around that.
I'll never get love from her. But I still didn't stop, because when she died, I was in Phoenix, and I flew to Cincinnati. My siblings didn't want me to sit with them and everything like that, and so I went up to the coffin, and she wasn't moving or anything or saying anything to me, so I thought she was dead. I ran into the bathroom, and just because, I said to myself,
breathe.
Well, now, she'll never love me. And even though I know it's not a verb. I mean, it's not a verb. That nobody can love somebody. I learned that from you. it's
So
just still, I guess I never canceled the goal or something.
breathe, go into it.
Because I'm surprised
for it.
at the way I'm feeling right now.
Yeah,
I
let your throat
thought
open.
I worked through everything.
Well, and you have worked through layers of it, and here's a new layer.
Okay.
And it's safe to breathe. Let yourself just fully breathe into that and feel what is you're feeling, and let yourself be conscious of the thoughts that are there.
Okay. Maybe I'm running in hypervigilance because I never canceled that goal or something consciously.
Yeah. Breathing into it. This is really big core stuff.
Anybody that meets me goes, that doesn't know me, goes, you seem really, really uncomfortable in your body, you know? And I don't like hearing that. I really don't like hearing that. Because I think I've worked on a lot of things, but I think I'm putting the icing without the cake, you know? I put the icing on, which is the what do you call it? The fakeness.
Breathe.
Yes, maybe fake or something.
Breathe.
Okay. And everybody wants to misdiagnose it, but you know, this is all hallucination, right? It is, isn't it? Because it's all carbon-based memory, right?
Yeah, the thing to get is, you know, while this may be an hallucination, I need to let myself drop into what's underneath it and rid myself of that energy, or my mind will keep going back to that variation on the theme, and I'll find person after person to play it out with. Whereas as you allow yourself to drop in and let go of those goals, you get right to the core thought disorder and throw it out.
This particular case, would he be to have had my mom's love?
Sounds like it, yeah. Sounds like love, approval, attention.
Anything.
Yeah.
So
even though your mom's no longer in her body, there are important goals for you to cancel. And allow yourself to breathe into and let those energetic patterns go.
I think that's more important than reading this book called Attention, what's called Revolution, Unlocking the Power of the Focused Mind.
Yeah.
You know,
you just went right to the core.
Yeah.
Right to the core. Nice piece of work.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm in a state, a hyper-arousal state a lot, that I don't even know it, that I think that it's normal, that I don't even share my stuff with most people. My friends that's coming from, she lived in L.A. and I was going to move out there with her, but I ended up living in Phoenix, and I haven't seen her since I was in my 20s, and you know, and she absolutely is the safest person in the world to be around. And I'm so happy she's coming. But I don't go out and try to be with people, you know. Just don't. And that's probably because all these core issues that I never canceled, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'd focus in and work on these goals around Mom, and if she's coming to visit, perhaps she'd just be there as the space.
Yeah, my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, your girlfriend. If she's coming to visit, that she could just be there as the space to process through these energetic dynamics.
You know, when you continually don't get love and you're a kid, you were supposed to get it. You were supposed to be held. You were supposed to be all this stuff, and you didn't. As a matter of fact, I want your opinion on something if you have time, or I can ask you another time. My son-in-law, okay, so I have a dog that barks all the time, and I believe he's just comes from a lot of trauma. And you hold him, he's sweet as can be. And my daughter works at a 76-dog daycare, so she doesn't like to be around it because she's around it all day. I'm okay with that, okay? So I could go down to her house. So, but my son-in-law goes, do you know my mom believed in the Dr. Spock thing that when I cried, she never picked me up, and never, ever, okay? She didn't like crying. She yelled if I cried, whatever. And his theory is you don't pick them up. You let them cry it out. So she believed in that, okay? She admitted that to me. And so I don't believe in that, because I saw a video one time 10 years ago or something on YouTube about you're helping regulate a baby's
the whole nervous
system, yeah. So what are your thoughts on, does it really do that? And when you don't comfort someone crying hysterically because they're helpless to meet their own needs at that age, do you agree that you need to not comfort them, or do you believe that what do you believe?
Well, if we recognize that the human being is love and that the parent is love, the connectedness for the child is support for life itself. I think some of the saddest teaching that's ever gone out to the world of parents is leave your child to cry it out. I think that's just an insane and perhaps bordering on criminal piece of advice.
Thank you.
My take.
Because I experienced it, and I was never grew up. I had a shrink that said, do you know you're a child in a woman's body? And I never heard that before, but that was when I was 21. And I'll tell you what, I know why. My child just is looking for it and looking for it and looking for it, but she knows she's not going to get it because she never got it. So, I try to give it to her myself, and I do a good job. But anyway.
So, do you remember the love exchange exercise from that intensive you did a few years back?
I don't know, Michael, if I did that intensive, but I do have a video of it. It's in the Getting the Stress You Need video, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where you look at each other, one's light, one's love.
Right. That's it.
Oh,
I would suggest that.
Last night. Yeah, I did. I'm starting.
Yeah, I'd suggest you do some mirror work with yourself. Do that with yourself, and as you're doing it, get in front of a mirror where you can see the upper part of your body at least, and as you do that, reach your hand out to the mirror, touching your own heart, the reflection of your heart, and make that heart connection, and really strengthen that functioning from that space of connected love. And as you look into your own eyes, allow yourself to just process every thought that comes and free yourself of the trauma that's going to surface as you do that. The stronger you're able to bring love present to that, the deeper you're going to go in processing through, in releasing, physiologically releasing the energetic patterns of that. So I would say that would be really powerful for you to do, is just standing in front of the mirror and doing that love exchange, and do it, on a regular basis for some extended period of time to let those layers process out and move through.
So when I saw it on your video yesterday, which I've known about it, but put it away for decades, and it comes out, and then you're like, oh yeah, I remember sort of this. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, well, what can I focus on? This was yesterday. Well, what can I focus on? I don't feel the love exchange from me looking at myself in the mirror. What can I think of that generates love in me? Of course, looking at my dogs being taken care of, is pretty well. And they're happy and they're running around the 2 acres. And this is just the greatest thing in the world my eyes see, right? And so I go, well, look at yourself like when you're looking at your dogs running around 2 acres out in the backyard. I don't know if I can transfer that. Okay, because I don't really
remember
know
the
what
idea.
What love looks like. Okay, usually, hopefully,
so
have
the idea is to get the mind to quiet and allow the space of being to come forward. One of the other things I remember was recently in a conversation, your whole demeanor, your voice, your energy shifted into, my experience was a deeper place of love when you mentioned your daughter. And so you might go back to the first time you remember holding your daughter. That's the one I use that I find most powerful. And so you might allow yourself to be in that.
I will
and
go
then
back to
go
that
with that
day.
love.
That was surreal.
Practice, and practice perhaps doing the love exchange physically with your daughter.
Oh, if she'll let me.
Yeah, well.
No. Okay. Can I say
chances are. Yeah.
To make it sound
chances
like fun?
Chances are, and the show's going to cut off any second, so we'll just go right
Sure.
through. Chances are that, there was some of that desire from her for love that she had difficulty getting from you. That's probably a generational pattern. So some of that may move through and work. You may have to work through it, but hey, what an opportunity.
Sure. Do I help her if it comes up in her?
Be
she
the
doesn't
space.
want to do worksheets but she doesn't have to do worksheets.
Yeah, maybe just
all right.
sitting, holding the space, just looking in each other's eyes and bring that love present.
Yeah.
Maybe, it could be as simple as a request of, honey, would you sit down and just allow me to just hold the space and extend love to you? Would you let me do that and allow yourself to reach out and go for it?
I do it without telling her that I'm doing it. I rub her back and I rub her shoulders and then I give her a cute little hug, and a kiss on the cheek when she leaves, or just, and I always say, we love you,
Sweet.
Michelle, we love you,
Awesome.
and I can tell she's so thirsty for it. It's unbelievable. Okay, is that me or is that her? It's both of us. Okay.
Yes. Yes would be the answer.
Yes.
Go for it, girl. Go for it. You're right on track.
All right, thanks.
All right. Blessings.
All right.
Holding the space. All right. Lots of love, everybody. Appreciate you joining us. Create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Bye-bye.